We're back to the Neil Haley show. And when you think about a documentary and learning something that I never knew before as having an undergrad in history and studying, never heard the true story of how ordinary people that were not Jewish helped the Jews during one of the most challenging times of their lifetime with the Holocaust. So, my guest today is filmmaker Nick Davis. We're going to talk about this ordinary thing. Nick, it's a tearjerker. And how did you get started to get this going?
Thank you, Neil. I got started to get this going because, like you, I didn't know about this very much. I had heard of Oscar Schindler, but when I came across these incredible transcripts that had been from interviews that had been conducted with all these people across Europe who had, at great risk to themselves and their families, rescued Jews and saved them from almost certain death and that all of these people were working independently. There was no networking. They just, knock on the door. Will you help us? Oh, I didn't even know you were Jewish. Yes, of course, we'll hide your suitcase. Or, oh, okay, yeah, well, of course, we'll hide your baby. Or let me talk it over with my wife. We didn't know you were Jewish. You know what? I'd feel awful if I found out this person was killed. So we better take this child in. And then a couple of weeks later, knock on the door. Well, what about the sister? Will you take the sister? Well, if they'll kill us for one, they'll kill us for two. I mean, the way these stories all sort of spoke to each other and were all over Europe, it blew me away. I mean, I tend to have I think I've thought of the Holocaust in very black and white terms. But to realize that in this sea of evil, there were all these pockets of goodness rising.
Right.
And so in a certain way, it was a very inspiring group of stories, as harrowing as most of them are.
Your documentary really talked about things before Hitler came into power, which sometimes is not brought out in documentaries or films. They just go right into the Holocaust before any of these things happen. And from watching yours, I learned things that I just did not know how it was working in the background. Things were happening before even they decided to then go ahead and eliminate them.
Yeah, and I think there's a character voiced by Martha Plimpton who says, how could you not have known what was going to happen? The parks said, park benches and restaurants said no Jews here, and it's like once you start dividing people on the basis of accidents of birth, or belonging to a certain tribe or another tribe you're going down a slippery slope. You don't always have to end up in a Holocaust, but it's not good.
The hatred that is taken and how they were dividing everyone kind of seems familiar in so many aspects. And it's scary looking at that and saying, hey, people were living through this not knowing what the next phase was.
Yeah, well, I mean, you never know, and that's the whole point of history. I mean, we tend to view history as a settled story, but it's not. As you're living through it, they don't know in 1936 what's going to happen in 1939 any more than we know what's going to happen in 2028. So the idea that and that was sort of one of the goals of the film was this should feel current and alive and active and colorful. We wanted to find as much color footage as we could of the 30s and 40s of ordinary people doing ordinary things like eating in a cafe or driving a motorcycle or swimming in a lake in Europe in the 30s and 40s as we could, so that you could feel this thing happening and feel its relevance to your own life.
You think about exactly. And I think the thing that makes your documentary is showing people who were not Jewish helping other Jews survive the Holocaust. I think that's just fantastic because I just don't think I think we thought all the stories were Jews helping Jews through it, not
Yeah, it was
non-Jews.
it was
Yeah.
eye-opening to me as well, and to get this to get that across that these are people helping people who are different from each other, was really important. And it is the essence of the whole thing is like our shared humanity. And that's what I hope that all of these stories are really about.
When you think about the Jewish people and how, I guess, misunderstood at that time before Hitler put I guess, a bullseye on them, were they being misunderstood in Europe before that or not?
Oh yeah, no, no, no. I mean, there was a lot of anti-Semitism in Europe. For I mean, you go back 2,000 years, and there's been anti-Semitism, and it comes in waves and rises and falls, and who knows why. But certainly there was anti-Semitism that Hitler and the Nazis sort of, it was there. It was a spark. They didn't create it.
Yeah. So, what do you hope most people get out of the documentary?
I hope most that people see these stories and listen to these stories, and ask themselves these kinds of questions like, what would I do if somebody knocked on my door and they were on a different team than me, you know? And I do think, like, the world is so divided right now, and there's so many forces, and not just politicians, but the algorithms and the
Mm.
corporations like to put us in, different teams, and like, okay, you're on the red team and you're on the blue team. And it's like it's an accident of birth that you're on the red team and you're on the blue team, and we're here for a very short period of time. And I think a lot of us have walked around and seen somebody and thought, boy, if I'd been born where that person was born, then I'd be that person. And maybe therefore we shouldn't be killing each other just because we're different from each other. And I think, frankly, I think that's why we were able to get the cast that we did. I mean, the way the film was sort of created was, we found all these transcripts and we knew, okay, this is the story we want to tell. We edited it down and then gave it to these friends of mine, and people I knew who liked, doing voices, and they'd say, hey, take 20 minutes and do a couple of voices on your iPhone and send them to me. And we started editing the film that way. And that's what helped us shape the narrative. But my wife and the partner in our production company, Series of Dreams, Jane, was saying, like, from the start, okay, this is good. It's helping us figure out what the story is, but when are you going to get real actors? And I would think, I don't know. I think Eric's pretty good. And eventually it was like, no, no, no. Okay, she's right. We have to try and get real actors. It's a long shot. Who knows? It's a odd length. It's a, weird little film. But um, we sent out all these requests and stuff through our agents, and nothing happened for a few months. And then it was time to record, to really lock the film. And then one day, out of the blue, we get a call: Dame Helen Mirren wants to be in your film.
Oh,
And it was
wow.
like mind blowing, and it opened the floodgates, because once you have her, then it makes it more like a real thing. And so the next thing you knew, within 2 or 3 weeks, we had this ridiculously, incredibly accomplished and brilliant cast. And it's not just that they've won 5 Academy Awards, or actually more, like, and all the awards and stuff. They're great. And as good as Eric was, and I no disrespect to Eric, the elevation of the film, once you have Jeremy Irons and F. Murray Abraham and Carrie Coon and these people living and breathing these stories and making you feel like this is really happening
Yeah.
now. It's current. It makes you ask questions about, what would I do? Or is this relevant to today? And is there something I should be doing to help the situation?
And I think you should bring that up. I mean, I mean, it's not to the level of Nazi Germany where we live, us in the United States. However, if you go to other places in the world, it is. That's the mistake we make is in the Western world. Is we don't look at the whole world and
No.
what's truly happening in places right now, where even though there are things happening in the United States, but just think of it 7 times worse if you're talking certain places in the world.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do hope that people watch the film and think about that, and think, okay, I would like to do something to erode, do my contribution to erode the boundaries that have been unnecessarily erected between us.
And there's such civil rights questions that go through this film as well. that you wouldn't have thought, and people who probably said there was no Holocaust. That was the most eye-opening statement. Is that one of the reasons why someone got involved was because they said there was never a Holocaust.
Yeah,
So they told their story. Yeah.
yeah. The character voiced by Helen Mirren says, like, I didn't ever talk about what I did during the war. It was I did it and whatever, and I moved on with my life. But then I started hearing people say the Holocaust didn't happen, and I had to speak out because we can't let this happen again.
And is that one of the reasons why you made this film? Is that reason too, or is it more historically, or how are you looking at after people have viewed it, watched it, and then where it's going next?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little of that. I think it's we can't let this happen again, and it's also just yeah. I mean, at its core, I guess I don't even. I'm maybe more optimistic, and I don't think it is going to happen again. But I don't even want to get close to it, and I'd like us to please see that. I mean, I don't know if you're a sports fan, but I always think about the Jerry Seinfeld line about sports fandom, and it's like we're rooting for laundry. Like, and you know it with sports. You know there's no difference between the guys on the Mets and the guys on the Phillies,
Yeah,
but you love them and you hate them. And the truth is, if they just traded, if the teams were
you would be
traded,
cheering all those other people because
yeah,
they're on your team now.
yeah,
We
and if
hated this guy, and now he got traded. He's on our
yeah,
team.
yeah, exactly. I mean, so it's like that. It's as in some ways it's as simple as that. And I don't want to come off as a kumbaya, but I mean, we're here for a short period of time. We should learn not to kill each other at the very least.
And that's one thing I try to do in my media, Nick, is I have both sides of the aisle on my show. I give everyone a chance to discuss, and I'm not leaning any direction. And that's hard as an independent, podcaster, radio, TV guy, is that
Yeah,
I'm not going to go this route. I'm
right.
going to give the story to everyone. So just because you didn't like this person, the other person's going to get this platform too. And it's time
Yeah,
for you to say it. That's what I
right.
wish we had,
Yeah,
right? And it's
yeah,
not at
yeah,
all.
yeah. Well, maybe we'll get there. I don't know.
You never know. It's again, films like yours. How has the feedback been, especially in the Jewish community? What have you been hearing that way?
The feedback has been really very positive and gratifying from just everybody. I mean, yeah, very heartening so far. But it's early. It's early.
Hey, but I mean, you did it well. Got the right cast. You put the right film together, and it's fantastic. Where can people check this out, Nick?
So, if they're in the New York area on Friday, December 5th, the film will be playing at Cinema Village downtown on 12th Street, on the same block where Jane and I moved after we got married. So there's a wonderful symmetry to that being from my point of view, anyway. And then it's going to drop nationwide on VOD, Amazon Prime, iTunes, and those kinds of things, March 31st of 2026.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that people can't wait to see it. And then if you're in New York, you definitely need to check this out. I appreciate it, Nick, and thanks again. And
Thank you, Neil.
I have to watch it a second time. That's how good it
Okay,
was. So you
great.
did a very good job.
Thank you
All right,
so
thank you.
much. Take it
Appreciate it.
easy.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show. We'll be back in just a moment.